How did PlayStation Portal get worse? What was Target thinking? Will Knights of the Old Republic become an Xbox exclusive again? Sony goes to court. CD Projekt Red blames Sony for their mess. Ubisoft said the quiet part out loud. Call of Duty's next game has apparently been leaked, and a classic Xbox game is getting revived. These are the stories tonight on the Console Wars podcast. Okay, for starters, I'd like to just remind you all that this week we released our review on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Go check that out. Very scathing review I left of it. I would argue it's one of the worst games I've played in a long time, so definitely go check that out. Be warned, there is a lot of F-bombs in that video. I was very, very pissed about that game, so just don't watch that around children. But also keep in mind that we do have memberships, and you can leave super thanks, donations, and whatnot. So if you want to support the channel, you can do it that way. Or if you want to just throw a like, dislike, comment, share this video, it really helps me beat the very cheap algorithm that is not giving me an inch. So I really appreciate that, guys. And yeah, that's about it for housekeeping, so let's get into it. So I've been very, very vocal about my displeasure for the PlayStation Portal. I like the idea of them doing a sort of handheld system, but just like the whole thing felt like least effort possible. And it's just recently been released on a wide scale, and I'm seeing a lot of people giving him like amazing positive reviews, and it's like, okay, obviously this is one of the reasons why I started my channel, was kind of a counter to some of the clearly bought and paid for review companies out there. I know there's a huge argument that I'm not going to get into it, but every now and then I will see kind of a review that is honest and talks about some of the downsides to the Portal. One of the big ones was Wolfden. He's a pretty big YouTuber on YouTube, and he was pretty honest about his thoughts on the PlayStation Portal. Basically, he thinks it's half-baked and not good product. But I want to get into kind of two other things unrelated to him. So one, Sony's doing this very cheap move that you're not going to see now, but you will see at the end of this console cycle, and that is this headline here. PlayStation Portal will be tracked as a console by USA data firm Circana, not an accessory. And it goes on to read, according to a deleted tweet published by Circana analyst Matt Pitt, apologize for slowing your name, man, Pizzcatella, the PlayStation Portal will be tracked as a console in the firm's next video game sales report. This allegedly is due to a request by Sony, I bet. Many have expected the remote play handheld to be listed as an accessory like the DualSense, especially as it needs to be connected to a PS5 console to function. We've already got some early sales results from Spain where the Portal sold 5,700 units at launch. I'd be curious to see what the American numbers are, because I don't want to say that that's terrible because it's just from Spain and I'm not familiar with the Spanish market to know if that's a bad batch of units sold or if that's good numbers for a batch of units sold. Pretty impressive number, all things considered. This article continues. It will be interesting to see how it performs globally and what kind of attach rate it can attain. The early indications are that Sony read the market correctly, though, and there is an audience for this type of gizmo. So, here's my beef with this. Sony asked for this company to track it as a console. So, which is really cheesy because it's technically not a console. It's just a additional screen you can get to play the console you already bought. But Sony's asking for this to be considered a console so that when finally it gets to, maybe this isn't necessarily it, but this is to compete against like Xbox and Nintendo, because let's say Sony sells 80 million PS5s and Xbox sells 79 million Xboxes. Be like, wow, they really fixed up their run against Sony. But if they count these accessories as a console themselves, and let's say they sell 10 million, well, now it's 90 million to Xbox's 79 million. You see the problem? Basically, this is going to make them be able to boast that, oh, we did so much better than everyone else this generation, when in fact, this is a cheap shot. This is not a console, okay? The Portal is not a console. I defy anyone to get a game to run natively on a Portal without another console's help. You can't do it. Maybe if you heavily modify it, but by then, you got a new game system. So, I think this is a cheap shot by Sony, and I don't think it should be allowed, but what are you going to do? However, I'm not done with the Portal. Something that has come to my attention that no one is talking about, except one guy before me, is this glaring oversight on the Portal. And the guy who brought this to my attention is a YouTuber by the name of Luke Stevens. If you haven't seen his content, he does pretty good content. I like the quality of his content. And while I don't always agree with him on certain topics, he has my respect, and basically I appreciate some of the deep dives he does into gaming. He has kind of a slogan, don't get into hype, but be skeptical. He has this very, like, this mantra almost of, like, you should never be hyped for anything. You should always be skeptical, even if you're excited. And I kind of like that philosophy he peddles. It's kind of like, yeah, you know what? If we kept our expectations in check, probably we would not be so disappointed as much. But getting off the point, he had this video, the PlayStation Portal doesn't make sense, Luke reacts. And basically he points out that the PlayStation Portal can only work on open Wi-Fi. Now, some of you don't understand what I'm saying by that. You can go to a place that has free open Wi-Fi that's not protected, but any place that requires you to accept a user agreement to access their free open Wi-Fi, like a hotel, a restaurant, basically anyone who offers free open Wi-Fi, but requires you to agree to the terms of service by going to a website page saying, hey, I'm not going to look at offensive material, and then you click I agree, and then you can use the Wi-Fi. Yeah, you're shit out of luck. You cannot use any of those Wi-Fis with the PlayStation Portal. The only Wi-Fi you can use is on an open network that doesn't ask you to agree to terms of service. So the list of places you can play this have drastically dropped. I highly recommend you check out Luke Stevens' video. He covers this so much better than I can. But this is such a glaring issue for the PlayStation Portal that it made an already bad product 100 times worse. Because at the very least, when looking at the Portal, I'm thinking, okay, what is the benefit of this over using my cell phone and a DualSense? It's like, okay, maybe it looks a little bit better than clipping it to your phone. It might be less stressful on your phone. Maybe you need to keep your phone free for a lot of, business meetings and whatnot. So there were some very slight excuses to why you should get a Portal over just using your phone. But honestly, this just made it 100 times worse, because it's like, now if you're going on a trip, good luck using it on the plane. Good luck using it at your hotel room. This is only for any place that has free open Wi-Fi that doesn't require you to check a box on a website. And basically, it's kind of agreed upon by a lot of people that the only reason why Sony has done this is so that people don't play Xbox Cloud on their PlayStation portals. Because if you can access a website, you can access Xbox Cloud. And honestly, this feels like a Jim Ryan decision, because this is one of the dumbest decisions Sony has made in a long time. Look at it this way. You got a person who has the fortune of being able to get an Xbox and a PlayStation. They don't have them yet. They got a PlayStation 5, and they're getting a PlayStation Portal. And it's like, well, I would like to get Xbox, but if I can access Xbox Cloud on my PlayStation Portal, I have no need to spend $500 on the competition's system. So, like, honestly, they could have had it where you want to enjoy Xbox games? Get a PlayStation Portal, and you can play xCloud. And it's like, if I was the head of Sony, I would have absolutely done this with the Portal, because then you're taking console sales away from Xbox. Yeah, they're still making money off of people using xCloud, but hell, pushing Xbox into more of a third-party developer, I mean, this is a no-brainer, and yet people in the higher-ups at PlayStation, it was like, yeah, no, we don't want people having anything at all to do with Xbox. And this is going to bite them in the ass, not because they're not letting people play on Xbox, but because they made it so that you cannot access a web browser to authenticate the use of free Wi-Fi at a hotel room. Okay, I understand maybe not getting on a plane because plane Wi-Fi is never that great, but a hotel room for people who are constantly traveling and love the PlayStation, but don't have a means of carrying one of those giant-ass PlayStation 5s around, this would have been a perfect solution, or their phone. But honestly, your phone can access free Wi-Fi anywhere, so why get a PlayStation Portal? It's like, honestly, I might have to call you an idiot if you do that. Just play it on your phone. And if you say your phone's not strong enough, spend the... How many dollars is the PlayStation Portal? Just spend that money on a better phone. And voila. Which is French for... And then I found out. If you can quote the movie that's from, kudos. Moving on, just real quick, Target did something really stupid, and they announced that Black Friday, they were marking PS5s down to $350. And it's like, there was no warning for this, and yeah, I think it's only in store, and it's only for the original Gen 1 PS5 consoles, but for $350. Like, yeah, somebody's getting into a fight this Black Friday. I mean, like, granted, you're watching this on the Sunday after Black Friday, so probably there have already been some fights post. But, like, just when I saw this, I was just like, ooh. Because, like, this is the first time I have ever seen a PlayStation 5 at this price. Any other time, it's like, you know, it dropped $20. And now, since they raised the price by $50, now all the deals I'm seeing around Black Friday, or I did see around Black Friday, was, oh, it's now only $4.99. It's like, yeah, that's how much it was when it launched. raising it $50 and then giving me just a $50 discount on Black Friday is not a deal, Sony. Like, it was so insulting hearing people say, wow, what a great deal. It's down to $4.99. It's like, yeah, no, it was $4.99 when it launched. They just raised the price because they were either greedy or they didn't want the PSVR 2 to be more expensive, like something like that. And so seeing this price at $349.99, yeah, so there's going to be rioting. Like, I would be surprised if I didn't hear of a Target that had burned down. I mean, yeah, and like, how many are they going to actually have? Are they going to have like only 12 nationwide? You may think, oh, come on, no one has stock that bad. Yeah, back in 2020, when they launched the PlayStation 5, Walmart only had 15 nationwide in stores. No, it wasn't even in stores. It was online. They weren't selling them in stores. They announced they weren't selling them in stores, which was so stupid. 2020 was a suck year. But yeah, no, I remember that. I go in asking them, hey, I wasn't able to get the PS5 the day before, which was a Thursday. I go in and they go, oh yeah, we aren't having any stores. They're like, is there any way I could how I could get one? It's like, yeah, you just have to wait till we get more available online. Then this woman goes, yeah, we got this notice, which I don't think she was supposed to read to me, but she's like, we got this notice saying, yeah, be warned that you're not going to sell any PS5s in store for the foreseeable future, and direct everyone to try and get one of the 15 online. And I go, 15 per store? And she's like, no, 15 nationwide. She's like, what? Like, I was so shocked. It's like, no wonder Walmart sites crashed automatically. There was like 1,000 people trying to get 15. Now, obviously, that wasn't all that were in North America. It was just the only ones they were offering on that day. It's just like, you're only offering 15? Oh my gosh. So, yeah, I just got some PTSD from this PlayStation 5 console sale. And it's for the disc non-slim version. So, like, that's a good deal. $350. If you were lucky enough to grab one of those, kudos. So, in other news, apparently Knights of the Old Republic, the remake, has been having a very rocky development, and it kind of came to the attention of a lot of people following it that, like, yeah, Spire, the company working on it, basically the production shut down. The game's dead. It's vaporware. And, like, there was a cry of a million voices going, no! But, it has since come to light that Knights of the Old Republic is still in development, if only by, like, 2 people, but it's still in development. And there's been this big push by Xbox fans to get Microsoft to pick up the production of Knights of the Old Republic remake, since they released the original one. The original Knights of the Old Republic was an exclusive on the original Xbox Classic. I hate that I can't call it one. Way back when it originally came out in 2003. And, like, there's been a huge push by Xbox fans to get Microsoft to, like, purchase this so that they can release it. Now, obviously, the Sony fans are excited about this because originally it was going to be a Sony exclusive. And so you might see, like, kind of an interesting bidding war with this. I don't know. This article goes on saying, if you've been following the progress or lack thereof on Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, I don't like the acronym KOTOR. I think it's lazy. Just say Knights of the Old Republic remake. It's not that hard. It's like Jennifer Lopez, okay? I never call her J-Lo. my skin crawled just saying that. Her name's Jennifer Lopez. It's not that hard to say. It's not that hard to pronounce. Jennifer Lopez, okay? I hate when they do acronyms on things that don't need it, okay? You know who needs acronyms? The government and the military, okay? They need those acronyms, but things like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic do not need an acronym. I'm sorry for that tangent. But you may have seen a few comments from journalist Jeff Grubb on the current state of the game's development. Sadly, it's not good news. Speaking on a recent episode, sorry about that, of the Giant Bomb Game Mess Mornings podcast, Grubb suggested that Sony appeared to be interested in pulling out of its timed partnership with the game. Seems deader than a dog's asshole, because that game feels like it cannot happen unless it has a partner like Sony, and because Sony seems to be out with the big funding being pulled, it feels like it's done, and there's no reason for anyone to be working on it. Now, reality is that maybe someone somewhere is still imagining that the game could happen. There could be someone still working on it. I don't know that far. I don't know what's happening inside Embracer. And so now, a lot of people have taken to Reddit, Twitter, saying that Xbox should take over the funding. And despite a lot of support being shown for the idea of Xbox partnering with Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, there are a lot of Xbox fans arguing against the idea. Some are suggesting that Microsoft might have actually dodged a bullet with this project, and even if Microsoft wanted to put the likes of Obsidian on the Knights of the Old Republic remake, it's far from guaranteed that Embracer would be interested in making it happen. That is true. It'll be fascinating to see how the story unravels from here, especially considering Embracer just recently laid off close to 1,000 employees as part of a restructuring process. They're having financial issues, and they're trying to save their ass. That's what restructuring process means, for those of you that don't know. Does that mean that Knights of the Old Republic remake could be finished for good? Let's hope not. But at least we got the fantastic backwards compatible version to enjoy on Xbox as fallback. So, essentially, I think some of the criticisms have merit to it. Xbox might have dodged a bullet here because the production may have just been so messy that it's a nightmare. Although, I mean, like, you kind of saw the first red flag with this game was when they announced that Sam Maggs was going to be writing on it, and of course, every diehard fan of Knights of the Old Republic, like, cried out no, because she's been very vocal, very political, and also she has stated Knights of the Old Republic is not my favorite Star Wars game. I don't like that game. So it's like, why hire her? And of course, shortly after, probably they saw that a lot of people were not happy that she was writing. They announced that she was no longer writing for Knights of the Old Republic. Bullet dodged there. But with this, it's like that was like the first red flag, and then the second one is that they've delayed announcing any more, and then there's apparently a lot of problems, a lot of layoffs because Embracer took too much of the pie, and now they can't keep it all down. I mean, that's kind of what's happening with Embracer, and so would this be kind of a smart move for Xbox? I'd say yeah. It'd probably be a smart move for Xbox to release Knights of the Old Republic, a remake. But, I mean, I'm a little dubious if Xbox is going to get any more studios. They've claimed they are, but, I mean, come on, look at what happened when they acquired Activision. That was like a 1.5-year battle. And, I mean, do they really want to go through that again? Smaller studio, maybe they won't, but like there's talks that they're going to announce another massive purchase of a third-party developer, like Sega or something like that. It's just like, Microsoft, stop, okay? Like, stop. I don't think you got lucky with Activision. I don't think you're going to get lucky again. And so now one upside is it's theorized that because they won, we got rid of Jim Ryan, and like Sony needed to get rid of Jim Ryan. So like I can't stress that enough. Now in other news, apparently a court ruled £5 billion lawsuit against Sony can go ahead following years of excessive PlayStation Store prices. Sony now faces trial. This was kind of interesting to me. Not because it's like, good, suffer. No, it's like, I didn't really notice this, and I'm amazed that it actually got through. First reported on back in August 2022, a consumer rights campaigner named Alex Neil set out to sue Sony for £5 billion, or roughly $6.7 billion US dollars. The basis of the class action lawsuit alleged that the PlayStation maker charges excessive amounts of money for digital content through the PlayStation Store, something that it can supposedly get away with being a market leader. The actions of Sony is costing millions of people who can't afford it, particularly when we're in the midst of a cost of living crisis, which is true, and the consumer purse is being squeezed like never before, which is also true. Like, it shocks me that I'm seeing news outlets going, the economy's better than ever, and people are actually making more money than ever. It's like, denial much? Yeah, and now, over a year later, the UK's Competition Appeal Tribunal has ruled that the lawsuit can proceed to trial. This basically means that Sony will now be forced to defend itself in court. Previously, the company had attempted to dismiss this lawsuit before it could even get off the ground, but clearly that hasn't worked. This marks a significant first victory for the claimants, as Sony lost a battle to block the claim on both the merits of the case and the funding arguments. Neil herself, I assumed Alex Nele was a guy, my mistake, writes, "This is the first step in ensuring consumers get back what they're owed as a result of Sony breaking the law." That's kind of heavy word use, okay? PlayStation gamers' loyalty have been taken advantage of by Sony, who have been charging them excessive prices for years. One of the arguments against Neil's N-E-I-L-L. Do I pronounce both L's or just one L? Moving on. Nele's lawsuit was that Sony isn't the only company to take a 30% cut of sales made from its digital storefront. The supposed cause of PS Store price being so excessive to begin with. Indeed, Microsoft and Nintendo do the same with their own console-based marketplaces, but again, that obviously hasn't stopped the lawsuit against Sony specifically for progressing to trial. So, I bring this up because, one, I had never heard of it, and two, I don't know if they're saying just in general they were overcharging or if it's recently, because I will acknowledge that Sony, back in like 2018, 2019, some of the digital sales were fantastic. And when the PS5 came out, it kind of dried up. Yeah, I still see some good sales now, but most of the sales I'm seeing are like 10%, 20%, maybe 30%. It's rare when you get 50%, and even then, you're looking at spending like $30 to $40, which is a lot of money for some people. And, now, is that indicative of Sony price gouging? I don't know. I would say that this probably is more indicative of a sign of the times. Our economy is in the trash right now, and everyone is raising their prices. Like, okay, full disclosure, I'm not getting it anytime soon, but there's this like one full-size statue that I have no room for of a T800 that I've always wanted, okay? Again, can't afford it right now. I'm not getting it anytime soon, and I have no room for it. but I've always wanted a full-size T800, and Sideshow Collectibles offers it. But the thing is, every now and then I check on it. I like to torture myself, but I check on it, and originally it was like $6,900, so $7,000. It was $69,999. Where now it's up to like 89 or something to that effect. So, like, everyone is raising their prices because they're trying to keep afloat. They're trying to stave off the bleeding of loss of profits, and some people, they don't get that. If you sell 100 items at $5 and 50 items at $10, you're making the same thing. And so some people haven't figured out that, hey, if we drastically reduce prices, we'll sell a lot more. Some people, they think if we raise prices, they'll still pay the same thing, like the Disneyland logic. If you don't know Disneyland, one of the reasons why they kept raising prices of the tickets is because people kept going to Disneyland. And so it's like, okay, if they're willing to pay this, I mean, the park's already overcrowded as it is, so we might as well raise prices to kind of keep the park less overcrowded. And so, I mean, but is that indicative of Sony doing nefarious practices? I would be willing to argue no. Now, granted, I don't know every aspect of this case, and the person filing a lawsuit might be 100% justified. But of the little information I have right now, I would be inclined to side with Sony on this. You see, I don't always rag on Sony. The reason why I rag on Sony so much is because they've been doing really stupid fucking moronic decisions. But like in this instance, I'm inclined to side with Sony until I see like some more evidence showing that they've been doing nefarious practices. Just because they raise prices because we're in a terrible economy right now is not indicative of them breaking the law. I don't know if they broke the law. So, I don't know. Maybe this person has better evidence. I'm not going to say that they're wrong right now. Let's move on. So, CD Projekt Red just recently announced the Ultimate Edition of Cyberpunk 2077. And, like, for those of you who know, the complete edition of The Witcher 3 is a magnificent package. You basically get all the updates, you get all the DLC, you get the main game, all on one disc. It is a phenomenal package. And unfortunately, Cyberpunk 2077's Ultimate Edition lack of on-disc DLC is reportedly down to Sony policy. And also CDPR didn't want to spend. So it was announced earlier in the week that the DLC Phantom Liberty was not going to be on disc. And this article goes on to explain that the expansion isn't included on the physical version of the disc. You just get a PlayStation Network voucher that basically, once someone redeems that, it's useless. And basically, they're doing this because PlayStation policy requires a re-release with on-disc DLC to be registered as a new product. And they were saying they didn't want to register it as a separate product, and they didn't want to create a new trophy list and whatnot, so it's PlayStation's fault. And honestly, they also claim that the process and cost time of money and printing was another factor. I think that was the main factor, and they just didn't want to say that they were too lazy. I mean, anyone I talk to who gets a complete edition or Game of the Year edition or Ultimate edition, they hate that it's just a piece of paper that's in the case. They would prefer it to be on disc, and I would prefer it to be on disc, but no, it's they're doing the stupid DLC voucher thing. And so I want to put this on CD Projekt Red. Yeah, you could say that Sony, but honestly, other people do it with Sony. Okay, I think they just wanted to get this over with so they can move on with their projects, and they didn't want to spend more time on it. So, I'm in rare form today. I've actually sided with Sony twice on something. So this one's big. Ubisoft accidentally set the quiet part out loud. And what quiet part means is in-game advertising. So this article from Pure Xbox fans repulsed by mid-game Ubisoft advert for Assassin's Creed. It apparently has been showing on PS5 as well. And it's an advert for a Black Friday sale. It's pretty rare, this article goes on to say, it's pretty rare that we see adverts cropping up mid-game in paid releases. But there's clearly one doing the rounds for Assassin's Creed Mirage at the moment, as discovered by numerous Xbox and PlayStation users in recent times. Xbox fan Triddle24 ended up posting some evidence of this to the Xbox One subreddit yesterday, showing that when they tried to enter the map in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, they were first presented with a Black Friday deal for Mirage. And then, like, this was a serious issue that was popping up, and everyone took to the internet and said they did not like this. And real quick, Ubisoft came out and said the in-game ad in old Assassin's Creed titles were down to a technical error, which has now been addressed. You know, that wasn't, it was just a technical error. And they responded to the statement to The Verge. We've been made aware that some players encountered pop-up ads while playing certain Assassin's Creed titles yesterday. This was the result of a technical error that we addressed as soon as we learned the issue. We suppose that's that then. I'm going to just come out and call bullshit on Ubisoft right now. That was not a technical error. That was them trying to feel out if they could get away with a mid-game advertisement. Okay? You know how much money Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, all these third-party companies would make if they could have in-game advertisements? It'd be in the billions. Alright? And Ubisoft, desperate for money, they decided to just slip it in and see if they could get away with it. And when everyone screamed their heads off, it's like, okay, no, that was a technical mistake. Yeah, no, that was intentional. I guarantee that was intentional. They were feeling out if they could get away with it, and when they saw they couldn't, it was like, okay, we're sorry, it was a mistake. It's like, no, every company that makes games would love to have in-game adverts. They would love it because they would make so much more money. And so this is the quiet part that will become a factor one day, because someone's going to try this again. And if people scream up, it's like, oh, it was just a technical error. I mean, look at what happened with the Xbox One. They tried making that an online-only console. People didn't like it. They screamed up. They changed it. And now the same shit's happening again. It's looking like the next generation of PlayStation and Xbox might be online-only, digital-only consoles. And they might get away with it this time because not as many people are screaming about it like they did back in 2013. And I see the same thing happening with in-game ads. You might see people not as upset about this in 10 years. Maybe less. Gosh, the future of gaming is so depressing. On some slightly more optimistic news, maybe, supposedly the next Call of Duty has been leaked. And it's supposedly going to be set during the first Gulf War. While the bloated, this article from Push Square reads, while the bloated, undercooked, and outdated Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is still fresh in our collective consciousness, it's only fitting that a new report would out next year's offering well in advance. Developed this time by Treyarch, Call of Duty 2024 will reportedly be another entry in the Black Ops series, set during the first Gulf War. According to multiple sources, Windows Central's Jez Corden reports that Call of Duty 2024 will focus on the CIA and explore the United States' role in the often overlooked conflict. Additionally, previous leaks indicate a return to round-based zombies mode, as well as remastered maps from previous Black Ops games. If Black Ops 6 continues previous naming conventions, we should learn more about Call of Duty, Black Ops, Gulf War in the months to come. I hope that's not the name. For those too young to remember, okay, that's just a history lesson. So, am I interested in this? Sure. I was born in the middle of the Gulf War. Molded by it. No, I'm joking. I was born of darkness. Molded by it. I didn't see light until I was a young man. Sorry about that tangent. But, no, I mean, like, I'd be interested in this. Hopefully it has better writers than Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I don't know if Modern Warfare 3 is as bad as everyone's saying it is. I will be impressed if it is as bad as Modern Warfare 2. Modern Warfare 2 was awful. Again, go check out my review of Modern Warfare 2. It's a doozy. But, no, it's just, I think desperately Call of Duty needs to take a break. I think a lot of Call of Duty fans would not be upset if they took a year off. Like, seriously, that'd be great if they took a year off. Let some of the support teams actually make some original IPs. That'd be really nice. And, save this for 2025. Okay? Don't release this 2024. Save it for 2025. All I have to say about it. And then the final story for tonight, I just thought it was kind of cool. Do you remember Killer Instinct? Yeah, it got a new chapter back in 2013, and it just kind of like fizzled out. It was the premier fighter for the Xbox console. It wasn't available on anything else, and there was a dedicated fan base that still kept playing Killer Instinct all these years, despite the fact that it never got as big as Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, Tekken. It was kind of like the little engine that could. I grabbed it super cheap one sale for like $9. It was the complete edition that had the characters from Halo show up and whatnot. And it's a visually stunning game on the Xbox, but I haven't played it yet. And it just got announced that Killer Instinct Anniversary Edition is coming to PC and Xbox Series systems. And it's a free upgrade for anyone who owns the Definitive Edition. So I'm getting a free upgrade to it, I guess, since I already have the Definitive Edition. This article reads, this week marks 10 years since Killer Instinct landed on the Xbox One, and to celebrate this milestone, a new version of the game known as Killer Instinct Anniversary Edition has been announced. There's no release date just yet. This version will be a free upgrade if you already own Killer Instinct Definitive Edition, and adds support for Xbox Series X and S. The Definitive Edition is also being retired as part of this update. The Anniversary Edition includes all 29 fighters, with premium content including VIP double XP boosters, special holiday accessories, and more. If you aren't already eligible for the free upgrade, the Anniversary Edition will set you back $29.99. It's worth mentioning that the Anniversary Edition won't include the Definitive Edition app or the classic Killer Instinct 1 and 2. However, this content will still be available to download separately if you already own the Definitive Edition. As part of this, the team is also retiring the ability to purchase individual fighters and various editions. And once again, don't worry about losing anything you've already purchased, as they will remain in your library. Heads up, the Definitive Edition is currently on sale for $13, or the regional equivalent of that. If you're interested in this at all, go grab the Definitive Edition now for $13, and then you get a free upgrade for the version that will cost $30. So, kind of save yourself some money right there. And also, the Definitive Edition comes with the Killer Instinct 1 and 2 that you don't get with the Anniversary Edition. So, you get 3 games for less than half the price of what it's going to cost. So, I would recommend you grab that if you're into fighting games. But not much to say about this. I think it's kind of cool. I'm glad we're still getting some upgrades for classic games. I wish Xbox would bring back their backwards compatibility program, especially since they just got Activision. So it'd be nice to get some of those games. And I think like even Hasbro said, "Hey Xbox, we'd be interested in like cutting a deal with you guys so you can release our Transfer games on Xbox Series X and S." Like, they're willing to work with Xbox, so it'd be kind of neat if Xbox just had like a small team of like 2 guys just working on it. And so like every couple of months you might see a couple more releases. We don't need these big bulk releases of like 49 games. No, like, just 2 games here, 1 game there, like that'd be kind of nice. But yeah, that's about all I have to say about this. I think it's cool it's getting an upgrade. I'm glad it's free. And yeah, that's about it. So, what do you guys think about this week's stories of last week's news? Say in the comments down below. Let me know if there's anything you want to know about. And also, the same thing applies from last week. If you guys have any questions you'd like me to answer about gaming, pop culture, throw them in the comments down below. And if they're interesting enough, I will answer them on next week's episode. If we do next week's episode, I'm not entirely sure. And then as for... Okay, that's not happening yet. Yes, on the Sunday of the 10th, I believe, we're not going to be doing a lot of news because we're probably just going to be doing reactions to the announcements at the Game Awards. So we're not going to do a Game Awards review because I don't really care about the Game Awards, but I do care about what gets announced. And so we'll do reactions to those announcement trailers and whatnot. If there are any decent ones, it might just all be like little Candy Crush indie games, but besides the point. Yeah, so that's been this week's episode of the Console Wars podcast. Do you agree? Do you have any comments on anything? Do you disagree with me on anything? Let me know in the comments down below. My name is Christopher Connell with Lakmal Reviews, and that will be all for today.